Alright guys, so here are my Overfenders installed onto the car. These are charge speed 50mm Overfenders. I'm using some cool little Cleco pins to temporarily hold this in place while I make sure everything else fits correctly. I do have to pull this off again to trim the inner wheel well right here to make some more clearance for my new wheels here. But the Overfenders are pretty nice. This driver's side fit on really good. I do have one small problem, is I shaved the antenna hole on my car, and these Overfenders came in with the hole for the antenna, so I do got to do some fiberglass work to get that taken care of. But the way I fastened these, I put one on the corner here. I wanted to leave this nice and clean just because it fits so well. I put one on this end part. I wanted to keep that back portion clean, so I put one right over here, and then I got a couple on the bottom. So I got two over there, and I got two over there. And this guy is on there pretty solid. So these Cleco pins are pretty cool. It's like a temporary fastener that acts just like a rivet. I did get the passenger side put on as well, but this side definitely had more problems. There was a bunch of fiberglass under here that I had to take care of. There was some more right over here, some more on the bottom, so I had to get all that taken off before this would fit properly. I started fitting this in and drilling it in and realized that, hey, maybe I should show you how to do it. So installing Cleco pin, this is what the Cleco pin looks like. It's a cool little fastener. You do need a special little tool in order to use this properly. When you squeeze it, the tip gets a little bit smaller, so you can insert it into the hole that you drilled, and then as you release it, it widens out and holds it in place. So this is a pretty cool thing. I pretty much got them all installed. I only need to put one right here and right here. And then this side will be good to go as well. In order to get these guys in, you do have to use a specific drill bit. In my particular case, I had to use a number 30 drill bit because I'm using 1/8 inch size shank rivets. So if I'm using 1/8 inch size shank rivets, I also need 1/8 inch size Cleco pins. Other than that, just drill right through the fiberglass, drill through the steel, and then insert your Cleco pin, and that is it. And that's all there is to it. Just drill them and put in your Cleco pins. And they hold in pretty well. I put one right over here, space it in a little bit, that way it has better contact and it's not right on the very edge. And the same thing here. I did that with all my Cleco pins. I didn't put it right on the very edge on any of them. I spaced them in a little bit, that way they have some good contact. But that's how you put them on, man. Super easy, good stuff. Try it out. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you how to do some fiberglass repair. This is that antenna hole from the Overfender that was on the car. Took that guy off, and we're going to prep this guy to fill this hole. So I'm going to prep this back side, I'm going to prep the front side, and also the inner diameter of that hole right there. Alright, we have the area prepped up, ready to go. I taped it off just to give me some limits so I don't go too crazy. I did the same thing for the back side as well. Back side is a little bit bigger, so I really want good contact on the back. We're going to be repairing both sides of this. So I cut out my fiberglass pieces how I want it. I'm going to put this smaller piece on the back first, like that. And then this larger piece is going to go over that. So I'll have 2 layers on the back side. I have these small circles that I'm going to stuff this hole with. And then I have another layer that's going to go on top. Alright, once all your fiberglass pieces are ready to go and cut to size, you're ready to mess with the resin and the hardener. get you a mixing container, a mixing stick, have a brush. This is what I'm going to use to apply this resin to those fiberglass pieces onto the Overfender here. Be careful with the amount of hardener that you use. If you put too much, this stuff is going to dry up really quick, so you have to put the right ratio on there. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Once we get the resin mixed up, we'll apply the resin to those pieces onto the Overfender, and we'll start stacking them and layering them. And that should do it as far as fiberglass. So let's see how it goes. All right, and there we have it. So we have that filled with the fiberglass on top. There's 3 layers in between, and there's 2 layers right down here on the bottom. So just gonna let this harden up and cure. Then we'll remove the glue tape, and then we can start working on blocking it out and getting it even with the rest of the Overfender. But for now, that's it. All right, today's a new day, and the fiberglass is hardened. Super hard. Some of the little Sharpie marks that I had kind of ran a little bit, but it's okay. I took off the tape last night before the fiberglass fully dried, and today it is solid. This is kind of what it looks like from the back side, and again, super solid. So now I'm going to smooth the back side out. Since it's not going to be visible, I'll probably use some super rough, maybe like 100 grit or something to knock this down pretty quick. And then for the front side, you know, I'm going to be a little bit more careful since this is going to be the cosmetic side. So I'm going to work on getting all this stuff straightened out now. That wasn't too bad at all. So I got all this smoothed out, nice and flush, and the back side has also been smoothed out nice and flush, so it's going to mount properly. So overall, I would say this is a success. This antenna hole is officially gone. You know, before I primer, I will put a little bit of glaze over it just to make sure that if there's any tiny little scratches or there's a couple little pinholes like you can see here, that all that stuff will be addressed before some primer goes on. But as far as fiberglass repair, this guy is done. All right, guys, see you later. All right, so the last part of the Overfender install is going to be the cutting of the actual quarter panels here. So I drew a couple of options to see what's gonna work best. I do wanna have enough clearance for the suspension travel running the larger wheels. So I drew a couple of options. I'm kind of undecided. I'm not too sure which one I'm gonna go with. This line right here is pretty much 3 inches up, and this other option is 4 inches up, just to give you guys an idea. And I kind of made the arcs to act as a guide. I did save this for last because, you know, essentially this is the point of no return. This nice, beautiful, stock straight body is about to get cut up. All right, no going back from here. Got the outer layer taken care of, and now I'm gonna work on this, the inner portion here. I'm gonna cut little slits. I'm gonna kind of bang them up. That way we can kind of seal this gap that we have in here. But so as you can tell, I actually decided to go with the 3-inch one instead of the 4-inch. I think it's gonna be plenty because I'm actually gonna raise the rear of my car up about 1 inch anyways, so I think it's gonna work out. Okay, all the pieces are bent up. I made these little stilts. It looks kind of crazy, but I made these little wood pieces to kind of help hold the metal together. I did prep the metal, so it's be metal on metal contact. And I'm gonna use some impact resistant structural adhesive. And I'm gonna apply a bead of it all throughout here, all the way around. And on the underside, wherever those holes are at, I did kind of grind away some of the old paint and stuff, so that's exposed metal too. So I'm gonna fill all these holes, that way everything is nice and sealed. Let's give it a shot. All right, this is the cool little adhesive setup. Of course, you have to buy this special applicator gun. Alright, got this structural adhesive put on. Kind of just looks like a little bead. Stuff is pretty good. It is a little bit runny, I will forewarn you. This is kind of what the underside looks like. The holes are covered. Not the prettiest, but I mean, I knew this whole project wasn't going to be the prettiest when you cut over your quarter panels, but the holes are sealed, so it says to let this sucker dry for several hours. But I think it came out pretty good. Don't see any gaps in anything, so just gonna let this sit, and I'll probably check on it later on tonight. All right, this stuff is all dried up, super strong. Looks pretty good. I'm gonna remove all of these little stilts, grab the angle grinder and the cutoff wheel, and I'm gonna cut all this off. All right, now that I got the excess material cut off, it's starting to look like a car again. It looks much better. Now you can really see the added clearance that I got from doing this. So it's really gonna help when I put the wider wheels on so I don't bottom out against this quarter panel here. I used the cutoff wheel to cut off all the excess material. It came out pretty darn good, I must say. I also deburred all of these rough edges. That way, when I'm rubbing against this car, when I'm working on it, that I don't cut myself and bleed out everywhere. So all in all, looks much better. Not quite done though, never done. I'm going to put some 3M Urethane Seam Sealer. Put a bead all along there, and also put some on the underside, just where all these little openings are at. Probably use the acid brush to help me spread it on the bottom. Nice and evenly. Don't want to go too crazy thick, but I just want to make sure I get some good coverage. So I'm going to work on this next, and then you may notice I sanded all of this quarter panel. I'm working my way up. I'm going to do the roof. I have a next round of primer that's coming up, but I'll make a separate video for that. But anyways, let's see how this urethane seam sealer works. Let's give that a shot. All right, guys, so this pretty much concludes the cutting of the overfenders. This seam sealer was some super good stuff, very user-friendly, had a nice consistency, spread really nicely. I did lay a bead all the way down, and I literally used my finger to kind of smooth it out all the way around, and I think it worked out pretty well. Got coverage on the top, got some good coverage on the underside. I think this is gonna do a good job sealing out everything and protecting this metal here. So this pretty much concludes this project. This is my no weld option. I don't have a welder. I haven't welded in years, so I probably suck right now. I am building this in my little old garage, so this is what worked best for me. I was able to do this all myself, and it was relatively inexpensive. Probably the most expensive thing was that freaking applicator gun for that structural adhesive. But if anybody else is doing it, hit me up. I'll like rent mine out to you or something. I don't know. I pretty much don't have a use for it. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Later.